작가의 꿈을 키웠고 그래서 모국어로 쓰인 문학 작품들이 저한테는 되게 큰 세계이고 의미 있는 세계인 거는 분명한 것 같아요. 그냥 해외 작품들은 제가 생각하기에는 좀 빠르게 번역이 되고 출간이 돼서 다양한 나라의 독자들을 만나는 것 같은데 한국 문학 작품은 좀 그 속도가 조금 더디지 않나라는 생각은 들거든요. 그래서 한국 문학 작품들이 많이 활발하게 소개가 되었으면 좋겠다라고 생각하고 아마 곧 그렇게 되지 않을까 생각합니다.
도시는 세계와 연결되어 문화를 창조했고 새로운 것을 받아들였다.
함께여서 우리는 더 자유롭고 더 멀리 갈 수 있어.
닫힌 문이 아니라 열린 질문으로
나에게 에이펙은
자유,
융합,
국제성,
다양성,
포용,
개발.
신라의 정신이 에이펙 2025로 이어집니다.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. President Lee Jae Myung is now set to travel to Tokyo for talks with his Japanese counterpart at the end of next week, right before his summit with U.S. President Donald Trump on August 25th. The North Korean leader's powerful sister says the regime has never taken down propaganda loudspeakers and insists it will not do so, pledging to keep a hard line against both South Korea and the United States. 3 people were found dead in South Korea's capital region after torrential rain pounded down on Wednesday and overnight. The country is expected to see more rain throughout Thursday. We begin with a summit between Seoul and Tokyo. President Lee Jae Myung is set to make his first visit to Japan next weekend since taking office for talks with his Japanese counterpart, Shigeru Ishiba. Our Park Gun-woo starts us off.
A Korea-Japan summit will take place next week. The presidential office officially announced on Wednesday that President Lee plans to head to Japan for 2 days from August 23rd to meet his Japanese counterpart, Prime Minister Ishiba. This means his visit will take place right ahead of Lee's scheduled meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump on August 25th.
We hope Lee's visit strengthens the personal relationship and trust between the two leaders. They are expected to explore ways for future-oriented cooperation between the two countries, along with their trilateral cooperation with the U.S.
The upcoming Lee-Ishiba summit comes after the two leaders agreed to immediately resume regular high-level meetings during the G7 summit held in Canada's Kananaskis in June. The presidential office added regional issues regarding peace and stability, along with other global issues may be discussed. While the exact agenda has yet to be decided on, the office added issues regarding import regulations for fisheries imports could be on the table, with the government raising potential health issues that could affect Koreans. With less than 2 weeks left until the meeting, eyes are on whether this signals a resumption of regular summits between the two countries. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
So as we just heard, President Lee is expected to sit down for a talk with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba before heading to Washington to meet with Donald Trump. For more on the bilateral relations between Seoul and Tokyo, we're joined by Professor Daniel Connolly, Associate Professor of International Relations at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Professor Connolly, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
So it's unusual for a South Korean president to meet the Japanese leader before meeting the U.S. president, right? How would this reflect the Lee administration's approach toward Japan?
I think Lee's decision to meet Ishiba before Trump is quite important, especially because there were many questions surrounding President Lee's foreign policy agenda during his election campaign. Therefore, I think meeting Ishiba first has the potential to reassure policymakers in Washington that Lee is willing to continue the trilateral cooperation established by his predecessor.
I see. And what issues do you expect to be on the agenda when President Lee meets Prime Minister Ishiba in Tokyo?
They're definitely going to build on a lot of the themes raised in their first meeting in the G7. This idea of a mature and future-oriented partnership will really focus a lot on economic and cultural exchanges. I am a little dubious, though, that there's going to be meaningful security or North Korea-related agreements because South Korea and Japan have very divergent interests in this area. So I expect some vague statements, but maybe not any transformative policy initiatives.
And another important issue is historical issues like wartime forced labor and comfort women or wartime sexual slavery, as they remain as thorns in bilateral relations. President Lee previously said he's going to take a two-track policy, separating historical disputes from bilateral cooperation. What's your take on this, and how does this approach sort of differ from the previous administration's policy?
Yeah, definitely. I think Lee's two-track foreign policy towards Japan can be very similar to Yoon's strategy. But I think there's a very important difference. Yoon was willing to forget historical issues dealing with Japan, but he was very ideological in his dealing with China and the United States and North Korea. I believe President Lee is more pragmatic with everyone. So he is more willing to forget historical issues with Japan, but also perhaps with North Korea and China. So maybe this two-track policy of President Lee is part of a broader pragmatic approach to all of the neighbors, not just Japan.
Right, and tomorrow marks the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japan's colonial rule. In your view, what's the key to improving relations between Seoul and Tokyo?
I think right now the biggest challenge is the global leadership vacuum. I think everyone can acknowledge that maybe the biggest economic threat to Japan and Korea is U.S. leadership under President Trump. And I think South Korea and Japan are both export economies. They have a strong congruence of interests when it comes to protecting the international trading order. So I think if they are really focused on a future-oriented partnership, more cooperation between South Korea and Japan in preserving the international trading order might be the best way to productively move their relationship forward.
I see. And before I let you go, will the trilateral cooperation with the United States also be on the agenda when President Lee and Ishiba meet next week?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, this is very important for President Lee to demonstrate to the United States that he's willing to build on this trilateral cooperation established by Yoon. But hopefully, in many ways, he's going to do it in his own unique way, not merely following in the footsteps of his predecessor.
I see. All right, Professor Connolly, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Over in the United States, Washington's top diplomat has said it looks forward to collaborating with the EU administration to advance an ironclad alliance between South Korea and the United States. In a statement on Wednesday local time, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio congratulated South Korea on the 80th anniversary of its liberation from Japan's colonial rule this Friday. Calling South Korea an indispensable ally, Rubio said Washington will continue to expand prosperity and confront the most pressing global security challenges by working together with Seoul. Shifting gears, North Korea's Kim Yo-jong, the sister of the North's leader, has slammed Seoul's latest peace gestures. She denies claims that the North has removed its loudspeakers, and she vows to keep a hard line against both South Korea and the United States. Our Pyun Hye-young has the details.
Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, has rejected Seoul's conciliatory measures and reaffirmed Pyongyang's intent to maintain its hostile stance. In a statement released through the North state-run Korean Central News Agency on Thursday, Kim dismissed recent measures by the Lee Jae Myung administration, which took office in June, pledging to mend strained ties with North Korea. Lee's government has halted anti-Pyongyang loudspeaker broadcasts, moved to ban leaflet balloon launches, and repatriated North Koreans who had drifted south in wooden boats. Responding to Lee's remarks on Tuesday that the North has also removed some loudspeakers, Kim called it groundless speculation and a manipulation of public opinion, insisting North Korea has not dismantled the loudspeakers deployed along the border and doesn't intend to dismantle them. Kim also criticized adjustments to the upcoming U.S.-Korean Ulji Freedom Shield joint military drills starting on August 18th, dismissing them as worthless and futile. She added that Pyongyang has no intention of improving relations with the loyal servant and faithful ally of the United States. She also accused Seoul of trying to score political points by reversing measures from the previous Yoon Suk-yeol government, calling efforts an empty dream that would not draw Pyongyang's attention. Kim Yo-jong further brushed off speculation that the summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, scheduled for Friday, could revive U.S.-North Korea dialogue, saying there was no reason for North Korea to sit down with the U.S. She warned that if Washington clings to what she called outdated thinking, any meeting would remain merely a U.S. hope, and that North Korea had no interest in talks that dwell on an irreversible past. Pyun Hye-young, Arirang News.
A deal has been signed to export South Korea's domestically produced K-9 self-propelled howitzers to Vietnam. According to defense industry sources, on Thursday, a government-to-government contract was signed late last month to supply 20 of the artillery weapons produced by Hanwha Aerospace to Vietnam for $250 million. This marks the first time for South Korean-made howitzers to enter the Southeast Asian market. The deal with Vietnam also marks the first time South Korea has exported its weapons to a communist country. On the local front, a 5-year policy roadmap has been unveiled for the new Lee Jae Myung administration. Focus is on forging an AI ecosystem to seek new growth engines, as well as upgrading South Korea's defense system. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min has this report.
Exactly 70 days after the new administration set sail, following the snap election, a comprehensive policy roadmap has been unveiled for the next 5 years.
국민이 주인인 나라, 함께 행복한 진짜 대한민국을 만들어 가겠습니다. 국민이 하나 되는 정치로 갈등과 대립을 넘어 통합의 길로 나아가겠습니다.
In line with this goal, 3 principles were set: unity, fairness, and pragmatism. President Lee Jae Myung was speaking at an event in Seoul on Wednesday, where a set of blueprints was made public by the State Affairs Planning Committee, which now concludes its 2-month-long job as a de facto transition team. Included were 123 tasks in 5 areas, including politics, the economy, and foreign affairs.
The Republic of Korea is mired in low growth. We need a new framework in line with the changing environment.
Focus was on creating an AI ecosystem centered around AI chips as a future growth engine. On top of that, the new government aims to usher in the KOSP 5000 era through forging an environment that is more investment-friendly. When it comes to foreign affairs and security,
we will upgrade the 3-axis defense system to secure deterrence of our own against North Korea's nuclear and missile threats.
the 3-axis system refers to a 3-pronged system consisting of the Korea Massive Punishment and Retaliation, the Kill, Train, Preempt, Strike platform, and the Korea Air and Missile Defense System. Seoul also plans to retake wartime operational control from Washington during East term. On top of that, the defense system will be bolstered to match the changing security environment, while seeking to improve inter-Korean relations. Other goals include elevating South Korea as a global cultural powerhouse, with the aim of nurturing the K-culture market worth 300 trillion won, roughly $216 billion. Also announced were constitutional reform to better embody the principle of people's sovereignty, as well as prosecutorial reform to reduce the power that's often been too heavy on prosecutors. To carry out those policy tasks, a total of 210 trillion won is needed along the way, according to the committee, which will be secured through taxes and belt tightening. What was unveiled on Wednesday will be under review by the cabinet before confirmed. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
3 people lost their lives in the capital region as heavy rain continued to pound the central regions of South Korea, where more rain is expected throughout the day. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
3 people died in South Korea's capital area on Wednesday amid heavy rain in the region. Over in Gimpo, west of Seoul, an elderly man was found dead in the back seat of a car after it plunged into a river. And in Incheon, a man in his 40s was killed when his car skidded off the road and into a lake, while a woman in her 70s died as the car she was in crashed into a traffic light on a slippery road. The torrential rain triggered heavy rain alerts in Seoul, Incheon, Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, and Chungcheongnam-do provinces, as the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters raised its emergency response to Level 2. Evacuation orders were also issued for areas near rivers at risk of flooding in Seoul and parts of Gyeonggi-do province. The heavy rains also led to train service on the Gyeonggi-Jungang line between Ilsan and Susek stations to be temporarily suspended on Wednesday, with delays on other sections. For safety, trains on the Gyeonggi line between Ujeongbu and Taeguk stations were also halted for the entire day. The Korea Meteorological Administration says 30 to 50 millimeters of rain per hour could continue through Thursday morning in the central region. Total rainfall through Thursday is expected to reach 50 to 150 millimeters in the capital area and up to 200 millimeters in Incheon and northern Gyeonggi-do regions. Gangwon could see as much as 150 millimeters and parts of Chungcheong up to 100 millimeters. Lee Jae, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. U.S. President Donald Trump held an online summit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and key European leaders ahead of his upcoming face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Hosted from Berlin on Wednesday, the online meeting brought together President Zelenskyy, European leaders including German Chancellor Merz, French President Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte, alongside President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. The attendees shared thoughts that any peace must include Ukraine's voice, reject territorial concessions, and proceed with firm security guarantees. Zelenskyy warned that Putin's pledge to pause aggression was a bluff aimed at stronger leverage on the battlefield. President Trump later described the call as a very good conversation and warned that Russia would face very severe consequences if Putin didn't agree to end the war after their summit on Friday. Israel is reportedly discussing the resettlement of Palestinians and is making diplomatic progress with Indonesia. According to Israel's N12 television, citing sources on Wednesday, Israel has approached Indonesia, Somaliland, Uganda, South Sudan, and Libya to gauge willingness to accept displaced Palestinians from Gaza under plans described by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as voluntary migration. Though no firm agreements have been signed, some progress has reportedly been made with Indonesia and Somaliland. Indonesia previously made a humanitarian offer, including treating up to 2,000 wounded Palestinians earlier this month and temporarily accepting around 1,000 war refugees in April. South Sudan, however, has denied involvement. Its foreign ministry labeled earlier reports of resettlement talks with Israel as baseless and not reflective of its official policy. In the U.S. state of Alaska, an outburst of water from a glacial lake led to urgent evacuations on Wednesday. Authorities have warned residents in the state capital, Juneau, that water from a basin has burst through and flooded the Mendenhall River to record levels, peaking at over 5 meters, exceeding last year's high water mark. The National Weather Service has issued a flood warning and urged residents in the high-risk inundation zone to evacuate immediately. Glacial lake outbursts occur when a lake formed by the melting of snow, ice, and rain drains rapidly, much like pulling a plug from a full bathtub. Flooding has been a recurring concern in the area since 2011, and in just 1 year last year, hundreds of homes were damaged. American singer and actress Beyoncé Knowles Carter has won her first Emmy Award. Beyoncé won the award for Outstanding Costumes for Variety, Nonfiction, or Reality Programming for her Netflix special, Beyoncé Bowl, a Christmas Day NFL halftime show, featuring songs from her Cowboy Carter album. She shared the honor with 5 collaborators, including lead designer Shiona Turini. Beyoncé had previously received 10 Emmy nominations without a win.
A powerful rain system continues to drench the central area this morning, with intense rainfall lashing down 10 to 30 millimeters per hour. But the capital area could see extreme downpours of up to 70 millimeters per hour until this morning, with up to 150 millimeters in the forecast. Gangwon-do province might get up to 120 millimeters. Now, this band of rain will gradually let up this afternoon before returning again tomorrow. For now, heavy rain alerts remain in place for the capital area, Gangwon-do, and parts of Chungcheongnam-do provinces. Meanwhile, southern parts of Korea are under sunny skies, with heat wave advisory being issued for most parts. So let's take a closer look at today's highs. Daegu and Gwangju will be getting up to 34 degrees Celsius with a chance of passing rain, but further south will be under sunny skies today, including Busan and Jeju at a high of 32 degrees. Now, more rain is in the forecast for the central regions tomorrow. Then heat and tropical nights are forecast to come back this weekend. Please stay safe and take care.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.
저희 누나가 발레를 하다 보니까 자연스럽게 누나 발레 학원에 따라가서 누나가 하는 모습을 보니까 저도 하고 싶다고 생각이 조금 들어서 발레 음악에 맞춰서 아무 춤이나 추다 보니까 그냥 그 음악에 맞춰서 제가 몸을 움직이는 게 재밌다고 느껴졌었는지 발레를 계속 하고 있더라고요. 나이가 좀 어릴 때 제가 가진 장점이 무엇인지도 모르고 아예 제가 가진 단점도 모를 때 발레를 시작했다 보니까 제일 큰 문제가 이제 평발이었던 것 같아요. 평발이다 보니까 발레를 할 때 쥐가 조금 많이 나는 편이라 그거를 견뎌가면서 춤을 계속 춰야 했던 거, 그게 가장 극복하기 힘들었던 것 같고요. 제가 다리가 다른 친구들보다 조금 두껍다고 해서 제 다리를 조금 싫어했었는데 근데 이제 로잔에 갔다 오고 나서 오히려 제 다리에서 나오는 파워풀한 힘이 좋았다고 해주시는 분들도 있다는 걸 느껴가지고 그 두 개가 가장 극복하기도 힘들었고 기억에 남는 것 같아요. 프릭스티 로잔이라는 콩쿨 자체가 학생들 사이에서는 가장 크고 의미 있는 콩쿨이다 보니 제가 그 로잔 영상을 보면서 자라왔기 때문에 그 무대에 서서 제가 춤을 췄다는 것 자체가 엄청 인상 깊었던 것 같아요. 제가 걸어왔던 길, 이게 맞는 방법일까? 근데 그런 의구심을 다 없앨 수 있게 제가 가는 길이 맞았다라는 거를 확인시켜줬던 것 같아요. 그래서 그런 감정이 들어서 조금 감격스러웠던 것 같아요. 한 배역에만 잘 할 수 있는 명수가 아니라 어떠한 배역을 받아도 다 넣어서 소화해낼 수 있는 그런 스펙트럼이 넓은 명수가 되고 싶습니다.
held its first debate over the weekend.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of this latest UN summit. A massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insight, new style, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation. Bringing news just for you. It's Thursday, August 14th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Ki Kim.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. And Yoon Se-yeon is also with us.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's Thursday, which means we're going to begin with our keyword news, where we look at a story that has been gaining traction over the past 24 hours. And today's keyword is baseball. Kyoto International Senior High School, founded for students of Korean descent, has scored its first victory of the year at the Summer Koshien, Japan's annual national high school baseball championship. With Tuesday's win, this team secured a place in the round of 16 set for August 16th. And thanks to the victory, Kyoto International's Korean language school anthem rang out to celebrate the team's triumph. Having captured its first ever Summer Koshien title last year, expectations are already high for another strong run this season. So Tae-young, are you a baseball fan? How important do you think high school baseball tournaments like the Summer Koshien are for the Korean community in Japan?
Well, I'm not usually a big fan of baseball, but this one story I followed closely for years because it's so meaningful and touching as well. Kyoto International School baseball team isn't just a school team. It represents the Korean generations of Korean residents in Japan who have worked hard to preserve their identity despite a lot of challenges. And last year's victory shone a spotlight on the lives of the Jainichi community, descendants of Koreans who came to Japan during the colonial period and endured discrimination while holding on to their heritage. And hearing their Korean language school anthem ring out at Koshien in front of the national audience is such a powerful moment, I believe. And it's not just a sports win, but a celebration of pride and resilience. And I truly wish them another strong run this season as well.
So like you said, I actually majored in Korean studies in college. college, so I took some classes on the Korean diaspora in Japan. So I can only imagine, like you said, like what it means for the Korean community there. So what are your thoughts on this, Keith?
Well, first of all, I'm a big baseball fan. As a matter of fact, the team that I support for the Korean Baseball League is doing really well this season, so I'm super happy. I'm looking forward to another championship, but at the same time, I went to college in Japan, so I know how it is. Koshien is huge in Japan. It's just like how we get intense for the World Cup. Even for those who don't know the rules for the sports, you would just go and watch and cheer for the Korean national team anyway. And just like that, the whole nation gets into it, and especially with Shohei Ohtani for the LA Dodgers in the Major League being a national hero. Baseball in Japan is hotter than ever, so it was a pretty big news in Japan, and like Taeyong said, it gave some encouragement for Zainichis as well.
So real quick then, since you lived in Japan, like how big is this? Because it's for high schoolers, right?
Yeah, but then the whole nation gets into it because, you know, back then in the early 70s, 80s, there are not so many entertainment. The same for Korean too, because we have DDP now, but that's where it used to be a Dongdaemun baseball stadium, where we also had a national high school championship there. So it's still big in there. And then in Japan, there's a lot of mangas or comic books that's based on this story. So it's still huge.
Right, okay. So Kyoto International Senior High School's victory is more than just a win on the field. It's a moment of pride for the Korean community in Japan. And that concludes our keyword news for this Thursday. And as we head into the final stretch of the week, we're diving into a topic that touches the heart of our national identity and history. It's a moment to reflect on the past, celebrate the present, and look ahead to the future. So let's take a look at the screen to learn more. Tomorrow marks the 80th anniversary of Korea's Liberation Day. It's a day that marks the end of decades of hardship under Japanese colonial rule and celebrates Korea's hard-won freedom and resilience. To commemorate this special milestone, a wide range of events is being held across the country, from historical walking tours and educational programs to exhibitions and cultural performances. Today on News Generation, we will be highlighting some of these meaningful celebrations and exploring what Liberation Day means to Koreans of all generations. So as we just saw in the video, Korea has a day that holds a special place in the hearts of its people, a day closely tied to the nation's history, resilience, and identity. And tomorrow marks Korea's Liberation Day, made even more significant this year as it commemorates the 80th anniversary of the country's independence from Japanese colonial rule. It's a deeply meaningful occasion for many and a moment to reflect on the struggles and sacrifices that shaped modern Korea today. So Ki, could you start by explaining what this day is all about?
Sure. So August 15th, the Liberation Day, marks the moment in 1945 when our nation was free from Japanese colonial rule. And apparently tomorrow marks the 80th anniversary. And it's also the day we celebrate the founding of the Republic of Korea, inheriting the legal authority of the provisional government. So from 1910 to 1945, Korea endured a deep suffering of losing our sovereignty under Japan's occupation. And in those years, our forebears risked and they gave their lives in the struggle for the independence, and this is a chapter of history we must never forget.
I agree. It's a really important day for us to remember. So how do people in Korea celebrate and commemorate Liberation Day, Seoul?
Well, as Ki explained, Liberation Day, or Gwangbokjeol in Korean, is the most meaningful holidays here in Korea, one of the most meaningful national holidays in Korea. And on this day, people across the nation display the Korean flag or taegukgi, or attend commemorative ceremonies and take part in cultural events that honor the sacrifices of independence activists, and we will talk about them more later on. And beyond the official ceremonies, families might talk about the history with their children. Also, during Independence Day week, schools often hold special lessons or assemblies, and TV channels as well air documentaries or historical dramas or movies that reflect on the road to independence. And for many older Koreans, the day is about remembering hardships and sacrifices, and for younger generations, I think they see it as a moment to express pride and gratitude in ways that resonate with their own lives.
And like you said, I think during this time of the year, I tend to look back at like the dramas. There's a lot of like Mr. Sunshine is one,
right?
And Kakshita, like Bridal Mass. I always go back and look at it because I think all these shows, they do a good job of showing like the courage and sacrifice and resilience that really represents.
And there are a lot of great movies as well, like Amsal Assassination.
That's a good one.
Miljeong, The Age of Shadows. Yeah,
I think they're probably going to air it, I'm guessing, over the holidays.
Yes.
So to learn more about the significance of this day, we'll be speaking with a descendant of a Korean independence activist who played a role in the nation's fight for freedom. They'll share their family story and what Liberation Day means to them today. That conversation will be coming up right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Jacqueline Lee, a granddaughter of independence activists. So hi, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello.
Hi, so could you tell us about your grandfather and the role he played as independence activist, and what kinds of activities was he involved in?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you for having me here, and thanks for asking. So my great-great-grandfather, Chung Gi-yeon, was a proud Korean independence activist during the Japanese occupation. And at just 17 years old, he helped organize the Hanpyeong Independence Manse movement. And he worked with other local leaders to gather hundreds of students, youth, and townspeople in the market square, waving the taegukgi and shouting Manse. And despite knowing those risks, he stood at the very front of the protest. The Japanese police and military violently cracked down and injured many and arrested over 20, including him, and he was sentenced to a year in prison. And after his release, he continued supporting the Independence Army financially until his passing in 1952. And then his courage also didn't come from nowhere. My fourth great-grandfather, Chung Yun-myeon, also fought for Korea's freedom decades earlier. After the Ulsa Treaty of 1905, he joined the army fighting in battles in Yeongsampo and Odungsan. And even after his leaders were killed, he gathered the remaining soldiers to continue the fight until he himself was captured and killed in 1908.
That's a great story. It feels amazing. And what makes you proud of your grandfathers, both Mr. Chun, and what qualities of them would you like to emulate?
Yeah, I think what makes me proud is that both of them fought for something that was greater than themselves, for the freedom, dignity, and a better future for Korea. They weren't wealthy politicians or famous. They were just ordinary people who made big sacrifices. From my great-grandfather, I admire his youth and fearlessness. The fact that he was just a teenager, he could stand in front of the hundreds and face armed soldiers, I think is incredible. And from my fourth great-grandfather, I feel like I admire his persistence. Even after losing leaders and battles, he kept going, knowing that the fight might cost his life.
Wow, that's a very touching story. Jacqueline, then how would you like to see the younger generation remember and celebrate Liberation Day?
Yeah, I hope the younger generation sees Liberation Day not just as a holiday, but even as a reminder that our freedom came at a cost. I think it's easy to take it for granted when we live in a free country today. And I'd just love to see young people learn more about the personal stories of independence activists, and not just the names in the textbooks, but the human courage that was behind it. Celebrating Liberation Day can mean visiting memorial sites, attending cultural events, learning traditional songs, or even sharing family histories like I am now. But most importantly, I think it's about carrying forward the values our ancestors fought for, like justice, unity, and compassion, and making sure those values shape the Korea of the future.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we just spoke with a proud descendant of independence activists who shared personal stories about her grandfather's courageous fight for Korea's freedom. It was a powerful reminder of the sacrifices made for the country that we know today. So we hear that young people are finding their own ways to mark the occasion. So what are some of the trends you're seeing, Ki?
So while the older generations, those step closer to the actual history, may feel a deeper connection, like my aunt who lives in California right now, she was born in 1945. So my grandma used to call her 해방둥이, meaning the kids of liberation, right? But then many in the MZ generation, younger generation, may have less interest or awareness. Yeah, even so, young people still find their own ways to remember and recognize this day. Some post a 태극기 or the national flag of the Republic of Korea emoji on social media, and others share short videos reflecting on the meaning of the Liberation Day. And recently, with the advances in AI, we've seen a surge in AI-generated videos recreating the voices and images of independence activists, the creation that are now widely shared online. We had a wall screens here in Arirang building next to the elevator and inside the elevator, and time to time those AI re-engineered pictures that you see right now of the activists show up. It makes us sad yet happy at the same time, because like you see right now, we've never seen these activists smile. So it kind of things that we don't normally see. So it's happy to see them smile, but at the same time reminds of the sad history. So it's an ambiguous feeling that we have there.
Yeah. And like you pointed out, like seeing them reimagined kind of makes them more real to us instead of just seeing them in history textbooks as well. So do you know of any other unique or creative ways that the younger generation is choosing to celebrate this day's Hail?
Yes, and first of all, I found it really interesting how the younger generation is turning this historic day into something that feels fresh, interactive, and even a bit playful. And one example this year is Bucheon 나라 사랑 Challenge, organized by Bucheon City for the 80th anniversary of Liberation Day. And it was a 3-week Instagram dance challenge created in collaboration with a popular dance YouTuber who also teaches at an elementary school. And the choreography is short, simple, and fun, so many people were able to join. And the winners also got prizes for that. And
that's a good motivation.
Yes. And speaking of dance, in 2023, there was also a Shall We Dance Challenge, which reimagined the original Liberation Day song with a catchy beat and dance moves as well. And another example is this year's 태극기 Challenge on a popular messaging platform here in Korea. Instead of simply raising a flag at home, people could decorate their profile pictures with 태극기 or join a digital scavenger hunt to find historic independence sites on a mobile map application. And each completed mission triggered a donation to improve the housing of descendants of independence fighters. And I think these trends show how the younger generation isn't just remembering history, but they are reshaping how it's celebrated. And also, I'd love to see more of this kind of challenges in the years to come, because I believe they are a great way to keep history alive and bringing people together.
I agree, and I kind of hope that a lot of celebrities or idols take part in this too.
Right.
So Seyoung, could you walk us through some of the key events and celebrations planned across the country this year for Liberation Day? What can people expect to see and experience during these commemorations?
Sure. Here in Seoul, the city is hosting a variety of programs this year, and the highlight is the 80th anniversary bell ringing ceremony at Boshingak in the heart of the city, starting at 11:30 a.m. on August 15. And visitors can hear the powerful sound of the bell of freedom echo through downtown, and even watch distinguished guests, including the mayor of Seoul and descendants of independence fighters, some from overseas, and take part in the ringing. And this year, the ceremony will be bigger than ever, with 12 participants ringing the bell 33 times as symbolic performances, a large-scale citizen chorus of over 230 people in a special musical gala show called The Flame of Joseon. And there's no admission fee, and it's open to the public, so I highly recommend you check it out. And other events include special exhibitions at the Seoul Museum of History, an art exhibition at the Seoul Museum of Art running through October, and a 태극기 history photo exhibition at Nodelseom Island until this weekend. So altogether, these programs invite citizens to remember history while also celebrating the freedoms they enjoyed today.
So you walked us through a good variety of online challenges, also events. Are there any that you're kind of interested in?
I'd love to attend the bell ringing ceremony, Boshingak one, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to bring my 2 kids there because it's going to be really crowded. But some exhibitions are running until October, so I might go check it out later on.
on.
So Poshing actually, they ring the bell at the end of the year and like to mark the beginning of a new year. And I think you're right. Like I think if anyone wants to attend, a good tip would be to go early to prepare.
Right.
To get a good seat. So are there any other celebrations or activities that might be especially good for families to check out, Ki? Maybe some events are especially kid-friendly or offer something meaningful for people of all ages?
Sure. Before going there, if you're planning to go to Poshingak, the best way is to get a cafe 4 or 5 hours before actually the show starts. Then you can actually there's a lot of cafes that can overlook the Poshingak Pavilion. Because I was once there in my early 20s to watch the New Year coming in, and it's super crowded. So yeah, there's probably a better way to go to a cafe if you have kids.
Not a good idea, right?
Yeah, because if you have kids, that's why I'm asking you. If you go to a cafe is probably better. And until the 16th, various hands-on programs are being held, from drawing the 태극기, the national flag, at Unhyungung Palace, that's located in Jongno, the middle of Seoul, making 태극기 and learning about its meaning at the Seoul Foundation for Arts and Culture, and sketching our cultural heritage at the Hansong Baekje Museum, which is located in Jamsil, that's the eastern part of Seoul. At Unhyungung Palace, there's also fusion Korean traditional music along with jazz performance. At Unhyungung, our program, Our Sound Pungyu, will feature the fusion Kuga Ensemble Hanum and the jazz group Romantic Night, presenting pieces that resonate with the spirit of the Liberation Day. In the meantime, at the Seoul Foundation for Arts and Culture, a Korean language musical titled Train Number 37, a joint creation by artists from Seoul and Kazakhstan, will be staged. The work pays tribute to the lives of ethnic Koreans who were forcibly relocated to Central Asia in 1937 under Stalin's order. It preserved their sense of community and identity. It also captures the determination and longing for independence that linked Seoul and Central Asia a century ago. Following Seoul performance, the production will go to tour in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and Tashkent, Uzbekistan. And there are also many education programs and performances specially designed for children, and most of these require advanced registration, mostly free of charge, and it's the best to check ahead before you go.
So there's a lot of things to look forward to. Like you mentioned Poshingak, you gave us a really good tip. I mean, the energy there is also really good as well.
Right.
But I think of the things that you just mentioned, I think I love musical performances.
Exactly.
The thing you mentioned about like the Kugak team teaming up with the jazz team also sounds really interesting as well.
Right. Looking at those collaboration, two different culture of music, joining together in the back of, right in front of the Unhyungung Palace. The Unhyungung Palace is so beautiful. So it's another meaningful, and another meaningful event because Unhyungung is right next to the Japanese embassy as well. So it kind of, gives a lot of things to think about.
Oh, there's a lot of things to think about and to look forward to, I guess. So this year marks the 80th anniversary of Liberation Day, as we mentioned in the beginning of the show, and it's a significant milestone in Korea's history. So to wrap up our discussion today, so how do you think people across the country can spend this day in a meaningful and reflective way? Are there ways you'd suggest that help connect with the spirit of the day, Seoul?
Yeah, 80 years is a milestone that invites both celebration and reflection. I think the most meaningful way to spend this day is to make sure we truly understand our history and keep learning about it over time. And recently, I saw a news interview where the teachers expressed their concerns that many young students these days openly expressed distorted views of history, and that's because the students had limited opportunities to learn about the accurate history, but it's also too easy to run into wrong information online, right? So that's the problem these days. And they're just saying a nation that forgets the past has no future, and remembering those who fought to protect our country is something we can never overemphasize, and that means adults as well as children need to keep studying and talking about history so that we can pass on a living story to the next generation. And of course, we can also join some of the local events or display the Korean flag, the 태극기, or take part in campaigns or challenges that we talked about today as a part of our daily lives. Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, I majored in Korean studies in college, and that kind of made me appreciate how rich and diverse Korea's history is. And like Taeyong said, it's really important to know the facts. And I sometimes think about studying for the Korean history proficiency test. I don't know if you've heard of it. So it's an official exam that covers Korean history in depth. So it's a great way to challenge yourself. But of course, if studying isn't your thing, that's obviously totally fine too. There are plenty of excellent Korean TV shows that really bring history to life. You mentioned a couple of movies like Amsa and like Mr. Sunshine or Bridal Mask. And these can also be just as engaging and eye-opening. And so what about you, Ki? Do you have any personal suggestions or plans for how to mark the occasion?
Well, I had a chance to go to the concert commemorating the Patriots, and it's a great experience. And as a matter of fact, the badge that I have right now, that I'm having it here, 태극기, it's from the that concert, and this is made from the steel that's used for the retired K9 howitzer. And while the history behind is pretty sad, there are many different ways to commemorate. It's the day we regain sovereignty. So in a way, there's also a side to celebrate, like Seyoung said, and also my late father, who I'm proud of, said, history is an eye for the world. You threw the world through the history, so we should never forget what happened in the past and actually to move on to live our lives.
Yeah, I'm really glad you decided to wear that pin today, because it's really meaningful.
Thank you.
As we've heard today, Liberation Day is not just a day on the calendar, it's a time to remember the courage and sacrifices of those who fought for Korea's freedom and to reflect on what that freedom means for all of us today. So whether it's through family gatherings, community events, or personal moments of remembrance, it's a chance to connect with history and each other. And with so many events and celebrations taking place across the country, we hope you find meaningful ways to honor this important day and connect with the spirit of liberation and unity that it represents. And we're also conducting a program survey that includes News Generation until August 17th to better meet our viewers' expectations. So please visit us at www.arirang.com or on the Arirang TV mobile app to share your valuable feedback. And by participating, you'll also have a chance to win Bluetooth earbuds and exclusive K-pop merchandise. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. We won't be airing tomorrow because of Liberation Day, but we'll be back on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. A big thanks to Ki.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. And Seyoung.
Thank you for having me.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.
Set the facts straight. Get Korea right. K-culture is sweeping the globe. K-pop, K-drama, K-movie, K-food, and even K-beauty. Korean cultural content is gaining more and more fans worldwide. It's indeed the golden age of K-culture. But with this growing interest comes an increase in misinformation about Korea. There's so much inaccurate information out there. Even AI can sometimes get it wrong. So, we must set things straight and correct all the misinformation. So here's the plan. The Voluntary Agency Network of Korea, Bank, and Arirang TV present the Get Korea Right project. Our goal is to provide accurate information on important keywords that come to mind when we think of Korea. Blatant errors and false claims that distort history. It's time to set the record straight, sharing the true history and culture of Korea while raising the national brand. Let's get started with Get Korea Right. Are you ready to join?